I just don't think she ever intended to stay in the royal family.
I think if she actually understood it, she definitely wouldn't have. Yeah.
No, so I think right from the start she was possibly planning to leave, I'm afraid, and that's my opinion now. It wasn't at first. I thought, like everyone else, I thought when she first arrived she'd be great, but I think slowly but surely over the years the evidence has mounted that she just didn't intend on staying, and she's isolated Harry from her family. From his family, and now we are where we are. And
I do think Harry should take a lot of the blame, though, because if you look at William's approach to his relationship with Catherine, he was very cautious. They dated for 10 years, and I think I don't doubt that William was any less in love with Catherine as Harry was with Meghan, but he understood that it's not just about him and his feelings. There's an institution and someone's life at risk as well. You are literally ushering someone into a completely different lifestyle that many people can't even fathom. And I don't think Harry had that approach. He just thought, here's this beautiful, articulate woman, I'm head over heels in love with her, I'm going to shoehorn her into this institution and it must bend to her will because we have more cachet than they think we do. And that's the fundamental difference. I don't think necessarily she dragged him from the family. I just think Harry was very unwise. He was not a very wise person, and I don't think he chose someone who was culturally a very good fit for the institution. And in Meghan's mind, she probably just thought, actually, this isn't for me. And leaving was not something that was much of a problem for her because I don't think she had that kind of ties to it, emotional connection to the institution in the first place.
Well, stick to it for very long, though, did she?
Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah, but a year or two after a massive, great wedding that cost us all about £30 million. I mean, I think she could have put in at least 5 years before deciding it wasn't
Absolutely
not a year,
no,
not
5
months,
years.
Not 18 months, Well,
I've said this before. I think Harry was very much, he lost a couple of partners in the past because I think things had gone wrong, or the press exposure, or the pressure.
He was terrified of losing her.
I think he was,
Yeah, he just wanted to lock her down.
Yeah.
And we are where we are. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they look like they were making a pretty good go of their marriage because I suppose in their mind, they're kind of trauma bonded. It's like them against the world. Like, everyone wants to see us break up. So, like, they're just making a good go of it. But it's really unfortunate how things panned out. And I think ultimately, Harry was very unwise from the beginning, and he was a bit desperate, need I say. I think he couldn't believe his luck that he's bagged this beautiful American actress. Like, he was just going to do anything to keep her.
Going back to the Queen, the comments of the Queen, I mean, she was tough as old boots, the Queen. She's sat down, had, dinners with dictators. She spoke to all sorts of people, had all sorts of undesirables, that she's had to sit down and engage with. It takes a lot to upset her. Why would she have been so upset about Meghan's approach, do you think?
She's very, very tough, very pragmatic, but I think deep down she was, she was a grandmother and, she was very, very fond of Harry. I mean, I think they were extremely close and probably the two most popular royals that we had at the time. I just think that she worked her whole life, trying to make sure that the monarchy succeeded after her and the legacy was the most important thing to her, and the Commonwealth, of course, as well. And it must have been absolutely heartbreaking for her to see, A, what was happening with Prince Andrew, and B, what was happening with Harry and Meghan leaving in her final years, and to cope with that as she was, approaching the end and Prince Philip died and all this, happened right at the end of her life, I think must have been absolutely heartbreaking for her. And I think, sadly, that is probably the thing that people won't forgive Harry and Meghan for, making her last years a bit of a misery.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier about this news is only coming out now. I mean, these were conversations that happened, 5 or 6 years ago. If this had come out in 2021 or 2022, the Sussexes would have come out and denied it. There would have been a huge storm. Now we kind of sit back and go, oh, well, yeah, we understand that probably happened.
That makes sense.
We can believe that story, yeah. But Meghan, on her side of the coin, when she did her Netflix show, for instance, she said, or I think when she spoke to Oprah, is one of the two. I spoke to Oprah or Netflix. She's gone on record and said, I've always got on very well with the Queen. And she references the trip that they shared to Chester, where I think the Queen, the late Queen, put a little rug over her legs when they're a little bit cold. I mean, there was potential there for a bond, but it fell apart quite quickly.
Desperate, obsessed, and completely lost without her. That's how insiders are describing Prince Harry today, a man so determined to keep Meghan Markle happy, he's willing to sacrifice everything else: his reputation, his royal ties, even his dignity. But in doing so, Harry has become the architect of his own downfall. When Harry married Meghan, the world cheered the young prince who defied tradition for love, but as the years passed, something changed. The confident soldier, once admired for his bravery and charm, became withdrawn, defensive, and strangely submissive now. Royal watchers say Harry's no longer leading his life, he's following Meghan's every cue. In Hollywood, Meghan shines: red carpets, camera flashes, the perfect stage for her reinvention. But for Harry, It's foreign ground. Is a man out of place, stripped of royal purpose, trying to fit into a world that doesn't really want him, and yet, instead of stepping back, he doubles down, desperate to prove that together, they're still a power couple. The truth? Their brand is losing value by the day. It's not just Britain that's turned on them, even America's losing patience. Polls show plummeting favorability. The more they speak, the less people listen. Every project, every PR stunt, feels forced, artificial, hollow. And who gets the blame? Not Meghan. It's Harry, the prince who once stood for honor, now seen as a man controlled by emotion and ego. Back in London, the palace has grown cold. King Charles is weary. Prince William is done trying, the bridges are burned, and Harry's the one holding the match. For Meghan, there's always another spotlight, another project, another cause, but for Harry, there's no going home. His need to protect her has become the very reason he's lost everyone else. Royal experts say Harry's desperation is now painfully clear. He'll say anything, do anything, align with anyone, as long as it keeps Meghan by his side. But in trying to save his marriage, he's destroyed his reputation from loyal son and brother to global punchline. The transformation is almost complete. And the tragedy? He still doesn't see it. He wanted to be the man who changed the monarchy. Instead, he's become a warning, a prince who gave up everything for love, and lost even more trying to keep it. For Prince Harry, the question now isn't whether he can win back the public, it's whether he can ever win back himself.
Yeah, Fun enough, went up on the Royal Train, didn't they? I think, which we're going to talk
about. The Royal Train.
We're going to talk about in a minute.
That's a great segue. So the Royal Train. Now, this is. How do you feel about the Royal Train? Because I've looked at pictures of the Royal Train recently inside. It does look a little bit dated. It is kind of an old train. It's not like the Hogwarts Express or anything like that. It's not something that looks absolutely. It's not the Orient Express or anything like that. It's not that, train of luxury. But they are getting rid of it, and it's been around for 127 years. Buckingham Palace has said that we cannot afford it anymore. They would have to spend a lot of money in 2027 just to get it back on track, so to speak. Are you sad that this institution has gone?
Not really, because I feel like it's kind of in line with where the monarchy is going as well. So we have to remember that it's quite expensive to keep it running. It's kept near Milton Keynes, and every time that they want to use it, it costs a lot of money just to getting on the train tracks. And it
costs 1.2 million roughly a year just to keep it running.
Exactly.
And they used it twice last year, and I think it was about 89,000 that it actually cost just to do these two.
And before that, it was William and Kate used it, I think, during lockdown as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think it fits really with the kind of persona that King Charles tries to put out there, especially as a green environmentalist. I mean, he has green cars, for example, that run on biofuel. And I think this, diesel guzzling giant train that they hardly use, that's not environmentally friendly. I don't think that's the image that he wants to put out of the royal family and of Prince William. Now, I do think it's sad that they're basically going to rely on helicopters.
That's right.
It's not exactly, a fishing boat.
And how much is that going to cost, replacing the helicopters?
But I do think there's something to be said about, just reserving a first-class train on a normal train that we all use just for the royal family. I mean, I know the Queen was very fond of it. That's the sad thing. The Queen and Prince Philip were very fond of it. And she actually had an office for herself built on the train so she could work and make the most use of her time. But I also don't think that in the era that we are in now with King Charles and Prince William, who's also very passionate about green issues, this is the right fit for them, especially how it comes across to the public. And so it's sad, but I do think it's necessary.
Phil, is it just an inevitable goodbye to something that's run its course? Or
I think it was inevitable. I mean, personally, I think it was a massive mistake to get rid of the Royal Yacht Britannia when they did in 1997, because that was something that sort of projected a bit of soft power abroad, and it was used by the government for trade fairs and things like that. So I think that was a mistake, but it's inevitable they had to get rid of the Royal Train. It was only being used a couple of times a year. I think the writing was on the wall when the Queen died, and they didn't even use it to bring her back from Scotland, which was always in the plan, and they just abandoned that and flew her back. So I think it had to go. But, I mean, the Times made a very interesting point yesterday, a very scathing article saying that the royals were now on a gravy train and getting far too much money from the sovereign grant. And in fact, they'd offered up the royal train as a sort of distraction to take people's attention away from the fact that they're just earning too much money. And so, that's getting all the headlines, get rid of the royal train. So that's an interesting point of view. But I think it had to go. But as Esther says, what sort of environmental example is it setting to be flying around in helicopters all the time? Yeah. When we were all being told a few years ago, take the train and don't get in cars, and now we're getting the complete opposite. So it's It doesn't really fit in with the King's green credentials, but I think it had to go.
I think they can't win either way. You know, if they kept it, people would say, you know, it's something that the Queen was very passionate about, it's emblematic of the royal family. But if they didn't keep it as well, it's just, oh, it's a distraction because they're earning too much money. I mean, the £100 million that have been granted for the refurbishments of Buckingham Palace, there is a public good there. If you go anywhere near Buckingham Palace, it's always full of tourists. You know, a tour alone will cost about £60 per person just to tour the Buckingham Palace. The British public makes a lot of money, and there's a lot of financial good that comes from just tourism that the royal family generates. And so they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't.